Good afternoon, everyone. My topic is EEG based brain computer interface system for emotion recognition. Nitin, can you please go to the next slide? These are the contents of the slides. Introduction, literature survey, overview. I'll be giving the overview of what the technology is. I'll be explaining about the system architecture and the other applications of BCI. And for the case study, I have taken smart environment. And then I'll be concluding the session. So we will get started. So BCI. Uh, Emotions are intrinsically related to the way that individuals react with each other. They constitute a major influence in determining the human behavior. So one human can understand the emotion of another human through his voice, facial expressions, body language, etc. But how can machines understand the emotions of a human? And the people who have some disorders like autism cannot even show their emotions and interact with the people in a normal way. And even the emotions expressed by the normal people can be faked, like facial expressions can be faked. We can fake the body language and the tone of the voice also. So what if we had a technology where we can directly capture the signals from the brain and interpret it in a computer? So that's where BCI comes in. And this technology does the job in a very sophisticated way. It captures the brain signals which are generated in the brain cells and do some processing and with those signals, and then interpret it through an external device. So like we have heard about prosthetic limbs where an artificial limb is attached to the person and the signal generated from the brain is given to it. So now a person can just think of moving his fingers, and those fingers, those artificial fingers can move. So that was about prosthetic limbs. So the basic principle on which this technology is built on is think and move it without any physical efforts. So having said that, we come to the question, how can these brain signals be captured? Brain signals are measured through EEG, electroencephalogram. That is, we place the electrodes on the scalp of the brain and capture the signals they generate. And why we are using this method to capture the brain signal is because it is portable, it is inexpensive compared to other methods, it can be used in almost all the environments, and it is non-invasive. I will tell you what non-invasive is in the coming slides. And with this method there is no risk of side effects also. So moving on to literature survey. Yeah.
Swati,
I
go
have
to
referred
the
many papers
methodology
published from popular.
first, then we'll come back to literature
Okay.
if it is related to
Okay.
your
Okay.
methodology. Okay.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Okay, sure. Okay. So I'll give you an overview of what we are doing. To capture the brain signals, we can either place the electrodes on the scalp or outside the on the scalp outside the brain, or even inside the brain. We will discuss about this in the next slide. Here is a picture of the headset which contains the electrodes that can be placed on the scalp to detect the brain activity. And if you can see the second picture, that is electrode placement on the scalp. The electrodes are very intelligently placed on the scalp to capture the right signal from the appropriate locations of the brain. This picture gives a very detailing on how these electrodes are placed. Here each letter indicates four major lobes of the brain. That is F for frontal, T for temporal, P for parietal, and O for occipital. C stands for central. There is no central lobe. This is just for the identification purpose. And the number of here the number indicates the right and the left hemispheres of the brain. All the even numbers refer to the right hemisphere of the brain, and all the odd numbers refer to the left hemisphere of the brain. Z here indicates the that the electrodes are placed on the midline. This was all about the electrode placement on the scalp. Now let's move on to the actual working of the system. This is the system architecture, and each step here has a very important role to play, from from first acquiring the brain signals to finally classifying it to one of the state of minds. So the very first step is acquiring this brain signals. Next, these signals go to the pre-processing step, where the noise associated with these signals are removed. And this noise-free signal is used for extracting the relevant features, which will improve the quality of the signal. And the and finally, this is fed to a classifier, where the signal gets classified into one of the state of minds. Actually, it takes more than 2 hours to explain every block in detail, so I have chosen classification as a main part for this seminar, and I'll be telling you the outcomes of each step briefly. So can you please move to the next slide, Nathan? Yeah. So the first step is signal acquisition. There are mainly two types of signal acquisition methods, that is invasive and non-invasive. In invasive method, the electrodes are surgically implanted inside the brain. In non-invasive technique, the brain activity is measured using external sensors, as I told you earlier. And we also saw the headset and the electrode placement pictures. All that comes under non-invasive technique, and this whole seminar will be based on the non-invasive technique. The electrode placed on the scalp acquire the signals evoked at a specific frequency. Like there are basically five types of frequencies, that is delta, theta, alpha, beta, gamma. You can see that in the picture with their associated frequency bands. Each of these frequencies is associated with one of the state of minds. The electrodes will capture these states. That is what the person is feeling at that moment. So now we have the signal with us, and the next step is pre-processing of the signal. So why do we need pre-processing is, these EEG signals have very low amplitude, and so they can be easily infected by noise. These noise are technically called as artifacts. These artifacts may occur due to some electrode noise, or if the headset is moved slightly during the acquisition of the signal, or due to eye blinking, or due to body muscle movement, anything. So it is necessary to reduce these artifacts from the original EEG signal. So in order to minimize these artifacts, what we do is, we use a bandpass filter, which will remove the frequencies which are below 2 hertz and above 40 hertz. So now we will have the pre-processed signal, and the next step is extracting the features out of it. The core objective of feature extraction is taking out important features of EEG signal, which contains all the information needed to recognize the state of mind. These EEG signals are non-stationary, and its spectrum changes with time. So these signals contain both time and frequency domain features. So choosing wavelet transformation method for feature extraction is the best choice, because it works both with the frequency and time domain features. What happens in wavelet transform is, the original signal is split into different frequency bands, so that the detailed component can be analyzed, and features like energy, entropy can be extracted from the signal. So after we get these features, we move on to classifying it. Nathan, move to the next slide. Yeah. We are using SVM classifier here because it gave higher accuracy than other classifiers, and it works best with the smaller data set, and it also has it is also robust to outliers. That is, it has a feature to ignore the outliers, and it is not as complicated as neural networks. So like this was the main algorithm that was there in most of the papers I referred. So coming to the working of this classifier, the objective of support vector machine is to find a hyperplane that distinctly classifies the dataset into different classes. So what does this mean? If you see the picture, there are square boxes and blue circles which belong to different classes. When this is fed to SVM classifier, it finds a line between the two classes to separate them, and this line is called a hyperplane. Okay, that was simple, to draw a line between the two classes to distinguish them. But the question here is, it can draw several hyperplanes which might be close to one class or it might be close to the other class. So how does it find the optimal hyperplane? So that is where support vectors and margins comes into picture. Suppose that yellow line is the hyperplane that has like that the middle line, yellow line. Suppose that is the line that has been drawn now, and now we have to find whether this is an optimal hyperplane or not. So to find that, we find the points closest to the line from both the classes. These points are called as support vectors. Now we compute the distance between the line and the support vectors. This distance is called the margin. Our goal is to maximize the margin, that is maximize the distance between the data points of both the classes. So like the hyperplane for which the margin is maximum is called the optimal hyperplane. This was about the SVM classifier. So which classifies it into different classes. So moving on to the other applications of BCI. There are many areas where this technology can be applied. We just saw emotion recognition. The other applications where this technology can be applied is medicine. Medicine, like this field has great benefits from this technology. It can detect health issues like it can detect abnormal brain structure like tumors and other sleep disorders and all. And next, entertainment. It can also be used in the entertainment field. For example, like EEG based music players. In this application, the current emotional state of the user is identified and the music related to this is played. Suppose if the mental state is happy, then some happy songs are played. Suppose if the mental state is sad, then sad songs are played, etc. So next is education. So BCI can be used to determine whether the students are attentive or not in during the lecture hours. Like BCI can be applied in the education fields also. So prosthetic limb, as like we discussed this earlier, artificial limb is attached to the person, and brain signals can be used to move the fingers and move the limb. A smart environment. I have chosen this for my case study. So let's discuss this now. Nathan, move to the next slide. Yeah, okay. Smart environment. This technology has the potential to completely revolutionize and change our lives. So how nice it is with just a thought of switching on the bulb can actually switch on the bulb, and with just a thought of switching on the fan can actually switch on the fan. So whenever there is a muscular activity or some sort of thoughts provoked by the person, the neurons in the cerebrum gets activated. BCI systems use these thoughts as a control mechanism. As I mentioned earlier, brain waves like alpha, beta, gamma, theta will be generated according to the human thought motion. Using these waves, we can control the various home appliances. The same process from acquiring the brain signals to classifying it takes place here with a few changes made according to this application. So after classification, the signal is given to the Arduino. The signal will be previously converted from analog to digital so that the computers can understand and decode it. And there will be also a user interface which will let the user choose which appliance he want to control. And this user interface can be completely customizable by the user. The user can add the names, remove the names of the devices he wants to control. So if we come to the working part, human attention level, that is a person's mental focus, can range up to 1 to 100. So, so to get this attention level, user should first focus on the device, on the user interface, which he wants to control. For example, if he wants to control the bulb, the user should focus on it, and this focus level reaches and like if like after which this focus level reaches a threshold value, the desired action will take place. For example, the threshold value is 40, and the user focus and the attention value gained is 41 or 42, the desired action, that is turning on the bulb, will takes place. It works like that. The same process is for the turning on and off the fan as well. So I have seen many videos of the working of this application on YouTube. It was really insightful. Like, please do go watch those if you have any curiosity or if you want to know deep about this technology. So that was all about smart environment with BCI. Go to the next slide. Yeah. And to conclude the seminar, this is a breathtaking technology which has the potential to help large community of people, and its boundaries are being extended rapidly, and many experiments are conducted in this on this technology. And the prospects of controlling the computer through the neural signals are indeed difficult to judge, because this field is still in the basic research level. It has not went to like, it has not expanded, still it is still in the basic levels. So there might come a day where the computers can arrive with the biological signal, the sensors and thought recognition softwares built in. So that was all about my seminar. Thank you.
Swati, can you tell me about the biological sensors?
Yes, ma'am. Biological like that. There's nothing much about biological sensors. That is just the electrodes which I explained in my slides, ma'am, with the headset.
So that was one of the example for biological sensor.
Yes, ma'am. Like, that means I meant that in the future, headsets also comes with the computers, and we can use this technology. I meant that.
Okay. Now tell me or explain me, like whatever the literature survey you have done,
Yes, ma'am.
from all those papers, which one is more related to your topic?
Ma'am, actually, I have taken points from all the papers, ma'am. Like, can Nathan go to the literature survey slide?
You spoke about classification, right? You told that is your major part
Hello,
that you're explaining in this seminar. So for that,
hello,
here which paper you have referred?
hello. Can you hear me? Hello.
Swati, are you able to hear?
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry for the disturbance. Like, my internet is too slow here.
Yeah, tell me, Swati.
Yes,
Like
ma'am.
you were speaking about classification, right? Here.
Yes, ma'am.
So in that, you tell me like which is the paper you have referred more or which is more
Yes, ma'am.
relevant
Ma'am,
to your
actually, as I
classification
told,
picture.
yes, ma'am. As I told you, like, I have taken all, like, I have considered all the papers, and the main paper I referred for classification was the first paper, that is electroencephalogram based on emotion recognition. The paper was so good. It gave an overview of the entire steps of like all the steps involved in this process. And the second paper, we need to understand first the part of the brain which is responsible for the type of emotions it emits. So it gave an insight about that. And it also explained the advantages of using EEG signal over the other techniques. As I told you, it is inexpensive, invasive and portable. In the third paper, this was an experiment done, ma'am, actually. They used music videos to induce the emotions in the participants, and they classified the emotions into 6 different types, that is happy, sad, fear, frustrated, satisfied, and pleasant. So the fourth paper, it like this I took for to explain the applications like the other applications of the BCI. It gave a brief description about the other applications and the headset which I mentioned earlier. So in the fifth paper, this was the case study paper I referred for home automation control. Like here, the same thing what I explained. The system was built to turn on and off the various home appliances. That was it,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Do you have any other questions?
No
Swati.
questions from my side. Now let
Yes, sir.
Victor sir. Yeah.
Yeah, Swati, did you look
Yes, sir.
at the dangers of harnessing brainwaves? As in, did any paper discuss it at all?
Sorry, sir. Can you please come again?
So, did they somehow discuss the dangers of harnessing brainwaves? Did any paper discuss it? Because
No,
we are
sir.
talking.
Actually, no, sir. Actually, there are like I told you, there are 2 types, that is invasive and non-invasive. In non-invasive method, there was not like there is not much effect on that. But in invasive methods, there are disadvantages because tissue tearing can also happen in electrodes will be placed in the tissue. But in invasive method, there are
Okay, yeah, tissue
not
tear.
more disadvantage.
Okay, fine. Did any paper talk about brain hacking and somehow like, because I'm just of the opinion that especially the Springer paper, right? I saw that
Yeah, yes, sir.
Springer paper. Yeah, they should have looked into that. But
No,
I don't know because I'm not.
yeah, no, like it just gave an overview of the entire steps of the steps which were involved in BCI. It did not give information about what you told, sir.
Okay, fine. All right. Anyway, my observation is this. I don't know. Yeah, maybe Caviar PMM must have observed. I think this group, you guys are really, I mean, you are really working hard. Okay. So that is a kind of a compliment from my side. So I'm not trying to, yeah, I've seen a couple of groups. So I think so far, like people are willing at least to, go that extra mile and put little extra effort, except for Shiv Shankar. Somehow, yeah, he couldn't, justify the whole claims, but overall, that's a good presentation. Thank you guys, and just yeah, keep studying, just go hungry, and then just ensure you, I mean, by the next presentation, you have to be at that optimal level. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.